Are you feeling not good about your work environment these days? Are you wondering if it qualifies for what a toxic work environment is? Is your gut telling you something and you're having trouble listening? Today I'm going to give you 9 signs of a toxic workplace or a bad work environment. And if you stick around to the end, I will give you some ways to try and manage it if indeed you think you are in a toxic situation. So here are the signs. Number 1, your ideas go unheard. Basically, your voice is stifled. Nobody's listening to your ideas, your innovations, the things that you have to say, and so your input is basically not valued. Number 2, and this is a big red flag, you are told that you are lucky that you have a job. You are lucky that you even have a job. Big red flag. The third sign that could be part of a toxic work environment is poor communication and lack of transparency. Things are happening, no one's telling the people who are on the ground doing the work what those things are, and decisions are made. There's not a lot of transparency, or there's no transparency. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Jenn Swanson, your career coach. On this channel, I help you to get the job, love your work, love yourself, and advance your career. If you are getting value out of this so far, hit that like button, click, 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 and let's get on to the next sign. Sign number 4 is unfair practices, policies, or favoritism. I was working with a company once where an employee told me that because he did not have a family, he was not given family day off. And in our province we have something called Family Day once a year, and everyone is supposed to have that as a provincial holiday. And this person's boss said, "You don't have a family, you have to be here and work." The 5th thing is bad attitudes and low morale, or no morale. So if everybody's cranky, if everybody's grumpy, if there's an awful lot of sick time and leave being taken, if people seem stressed and unhappy, then it's not too hard to discover that if everybody's feeling that way, there's something wrong. The 6th sign is that gossip and rumors and drama abound. There could be people talking about each other behind their back. You don't trust anybody when that happens. Nastiness can occur, and it is very easy for one person to be a bully. And if that person happens to be in any kind of a position of power, then look out. It is not far down that slippery slope into being in a place where everyone is feeling awful and where nobody trusts anybody, and where you are definitely swimming in a cesspool of toxicity. Number 7 is a power-hungry or narcissistic boss or manager, where the leadership is power-hungry, where a little bit of control and power can really turn people into terrible versions of themselves. That is where empathy goes out the window, compassion goes out the window, equity and justice for the people doing the work goes out the window, and you can definitely be in a toxic situation if that is happening. Sign number 8, and I mentioned this already a little bit, is that if employees are stressed out, are burning out, are overwhelmed, are emotional, or are taking a lot of sick time and are gone a lot, or quitting in droves so you can't keep employees, that is definitely a sign that there's something wrong with the system. And the 9th thing, I already mentioned it, I keep doing that, is high turnover. If you've got an awful lot of turnover, people are coming and they stay and then they're like, "I'm out of here," and they're gone, that is definitely a sign that there's something wrong. If you can't keep employees, what is going on with the position? What is going on with the organization? Hit that like button if you've ever experienced any of these 9 things, and let's get into what maybe you could do if you think you're in a situation like this to manage. Well, first of all, if you are experiencing a few of these, more than one, then you might want to consider getting your resume and your cover letter and your documentation together, freshen it up, shake off the dust, and start doing a job search, because there are situations in toxic work environments where it is very difficult to make any kind of an effective change in the middle of it, especially if the work situation is affecting your mental health, your mental wellness, or your physical health and your physical wellness, because chronic stress can lead to disease, can lead to illness. So it's really important to consider, is it more important to stay? Is it possible for me to find something else elsewhere that would be life-giving rather than life-draining? And if there are more than 2 or 3 of the 9 signs going on in your workplace, sometimes that's the only thing that you can do. However, if the cause of all this toxicity is coming from one person, it might be possible to have a one-to-one conversation. Maybe the person is having a bad time. Maybe the person doesn't realize what their behavior is doing to everyone else. Sometimes it's a lack of self-awareness, and a heart-to-heart conversation, if you feel safe doing that, could be exactly what is needed. I do have a playlist that I will link to, I will put it on the screen at the end, a playlist of a whole bunch of audio podcasts mostly, but some videos on how to have difficult conversations. And so I will leave those resources for you if you think that this option is a good option. I have one more. Maybe you can take it higher up if it's not the boss or the manager who is the problem. You could take it higher up. You could take it to whoever the supervisor is, whoever your manager is. If you are in a unionized setting, you can take it to your union rep. How far up the chain of command can you go to have a conversation? And again, this comes down to how you do it as well. I've also got resources on using your eye language and talking about how your work is being impacted and how the bottom line, your productivity and everything else, is being impacted by the situation that is going on with this person. So if you are able to do that, and you are able to do it in a way that is not emotional, in a way that is factual, where you're listing the facts, I highly encourage you have documentation if you're going to have one of these conversations, especially about incidents and who was there and what was said. So start writing the stuff down, keep track of it, so that you've got it in case you need it if you decide to follow up and go to somebody, your HR person, if that's possible. Honestly, you might have to do some soul searching in all of this if you feel that there is nothing effective that you can do from being on the inside to change things. And this is not a sign of failure. If you happen to be in the eye of the storm, it's really hard to calm the water from within. Again, the metaphors, they're pretty bad today, I'm sorry. Be careful about jumping out too early, because maybe there is a solution, especially if it's a place that you like to be. If the people were great to work with at one time, if everything else about the job is great and it's just one person that is a problem, then it's best not to, here's another one, throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? What a terrible expression. But maybe you can walk through it and work through it, and maybe everyone can learn to make this a better situation than you are experiencing at this time. So check in with yourself. Is there something that you're doing that you might be able to shift to see if things would be different? Try some really effective communication, see if that works. And honestly, at the end of the day, maybe there is nothing that you can do, and you might need to search for another job. It is easier to get a job if you are currently employed. So be careful not to bail too quickly. Be careful not to let your emotions run away and quit in a dramatic huff. That feels really great for about 30 minutes. And then after that, you might be filled with regret when you realize how difficult it is to find another job when you are not currently employed. So it is important to consider these things and try and do it in a way that's, unless it's a dangerous situation or a situation where you're going to be at risk. Of course, you don't want to stay in a situation like that. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you would like some great advice on how to start a job search, all of the things that you need to do to get a resume together, a cover letter, to begin a job search, even career aptitude tests and where to look, there is a playlist that I will link to on the screen here. Click or tap and I will see you over there.